Have you ever wondered why economies, seemingly out of nowhere, just go cold? Why millions of people can find themselves out of work almost overnight? For a long, long time, these were some of the most terrifying and, honestly, mysterious questions in economics. Today, we're going to unpack the revolutionary ideas that finally tried to answer them. And this quote from Milton Friedman, a Nobel Prize winner, just perfectly sets the stage. The biggest questions in macroeconomics weren't born in some quiet university library. Nope, they were forged in the fire of the Great Depression. This wasn't some academic exercise. This was about survival. And that crisis created a massive, massive puzzle. The economic theories that everyone had relied on for decades, the ones that seemed to explain everything perfectly, were suddenly useless. They had no answer for what was happening. So, what was going on? To really get what a huge leap in thinking this was, we first have to understand the sheer scale of the problem that broke all the old rules. And that problem was the Great Depression. Just look at these numbers. They are absolutely staggering. Between 1929 and 1933, the entire U.S. economy's output collapsed by almost 30%. But the truly shocking number is unemployment. It exploded by nearly 700%. It went from about 3% to almost 25%. I mean, just try to imagine that. 1 out of every 4 people you knew was suddenly out of a job. And here's the part that really baffled economists. Prices were falling through the floor. Now, in theory, that should have been a good thing, right? Cheaper goods should have encouraged people to buy more and get the economy moving again. But it didn't. The economy was well and truly stuck. So what was this old theory that was so completely blindsided by reality? Well, it's known as the classical model, and it painted this really neat, tidy, and honestly optimistic picture of how an economy should work. At the absolute heart of this model was an idea called Say's law. It's pretty simple, actually. It basically says supply creates its own demand. Think about it. When a factory makes cars, it pays its workers, it pays its suppliers, and the owners get profit. All that money becomes income, which is then used to buy, well, the cars and other things being produced. In this world, making stuff automatically creates the money needed to buy it. A massive, long-lasting glut of unsold goods just shouldn't happen. And the secret sauce that made this all work? Perfectly flexible prices. The best analogy is a pizza shop. If they make a few too many pizzas for the dinner rush, what do? They don't just throw them out, they slap a 2-for-1 sign in the window. The price drops until every last slice is sold. The classical model basically assumed the entire economy worked this way. Too many cars, car prices fall. Too many unemployed workers, wages fall until it's cheap enough for companies to hire them again. Every market was supposed to clear itself. And this is where the beautiful theory just smacks right into a brick wall of reality. The classical model was built on this foundation of flexible prices. But the Great Depression was screaming that in the real world, prices, and especially wages, are sticky. They don't fall easily. And if prices can't move down to do their job, then what gives? Something has to. And this is where our main character, the economist John Maynard Keynes, steps onto the stage. He looked into this economic abyss and had a profound realization. This stickiness wasn't some minor imperfection. It was the key to the entire puzzle. Keynes asked this incredibly powerful question. What if businesses, for all sorts of reasons, can't or won't cut their workers' wages? What if they can't just slash the prices of their products? It sounds like a simple question, but asking it would literally turn the world of economics completely upside down. And here's the devastating answer. If prices are stuck, if they can't do the adjusting, then something else has to. And that something else is quantities. If a car company can't cut wages to lower costs, it has to lay off workers. If it can't slash prices to sell more cars, it has to shut down assembly lines and cut production. And that right there, that's the tragedy. The adjustment happens with real people's jobs and real output. And this leads us to Keynes' big, game-changing idea, effective demand. He argued that what really matters, especially in the short run, isn't what an economy can produce. It's not about potential supply. It's about what people, businesses, and governments are actually willing and able to spend. He basically flipped the old model on its head. In the Keynesian world, for the short term at least, demand is the engine of the economy, not supply. That means output is ultimately determined by demand. So let's see how this insight builds into a completely new model of the economy, one where a lack of demand can cause a recession that doesn't just automatically fix itself. All right, so let's recap the Keynesian view. First, in the real world, prices are sticky. Second, because of that, how much we produce and how many people have jobs depends entirely on the level of aggregate demand. And here's the really frightening part. An economy can get stuck. It can find a stable point, an equilibrium, but a terrible one with massive unemployment, all because demand is just too low. It's like the economy is in a stable trap.
So how does this downward spiral even start? Well, think of it like a chain reaction. It all begins with a shock. Let's say businesses get nervous about the future, so they slash their spending on new factories and equipment. Okay, boom. Step 2, planned spending in the economy is now less than what's being produced. That means unsold goods, inventories, start piling up in warehouses. What do businesses do when they see that? They do the only logical thing. They cut back production and lay off workers. And of course, those newly unemployed workers have less income, so they cut their spending, which just makes the whole problem even worse.
And the economy settles into this new lower equilibrium. Notice that word, equilibrium. It's a stable state. But it's a tragic one, built on unemployment and wasted potential. And according to Keynes, there's no magic invisible hand that's going to come along and fix it. The economy can just stay stuck in this bad place. Now, this new theory was more than just a clever explanation for what went wrong. It was a call to action. Because if the economy couldn't fix itself, well, maybe somebody else should step in. And this sparked a huge policy debate that honestly is still raging today. So you end up with two completely different game plans for a crisis. The classical view says, hands off, the economy is self-correcting. Just wait and it'll fix itself. But the Keynesian view says, no way, the economy can get stuck. The government needs to jumpstart the engine. And it can do that by boosting demand, maybe by spending on infrastructure projects or other programs to get people back to work. And that leaves us with the fundamental question that policymakers still wrestle with every single day. And this isn't just history, right? Every time there's a crisis, from the 2008 financial meltdown to the recent pandemic, we see this debate fire up all over again. Do we spend to create demand, or do we wait for the economy to heal itself? The answer we choose continues to shape our world.